Of course, here is an expansion on the second keynote, exploring the distinction between a direct command and a manifestation of faith. As the relationship between Salah and charity in Islam is not one of equality in category, but rather one of hierarchy and spiritual priority, a hierarchy established not by scholarly opinion, but by the explicit and emphatic language of the Quran and the Sunnah. To comprehend why one is the unshakable foundation and the other a magnificent manifestation is to understand the difference between a personal covenant with the Creator and the outward expression of that covenant's fulfillment. The Quranic discourse is meticulously precise, and its recurring command, Aqimus Salah, establish the prayer, carries a weight and a context that sets it categorically apart. This is not a suggestion or a recommendation for the spiritually inclined. It is the fundamental pillar upon which the entire edifice of faith is raised. The first and most frequent command issued to the believers. The call to establish Salah is woven into the very fabric of Islamic law and theology, appearing in conjunction with the affirmation of Tawheed as the primary identifier of a believer and as the first matter of accountability in the hereafter. It is the spiritual spine of a Muslim's life, providing the structure, discipline, and constant realignment necessary to navigate the world without being consumed by it. When Allah commands the establishment of Salah, He is commanding the establishment of a relationship, a continuous, dynamic, and personal connection that must be maintained with vigilance and consistency. It is a command that targets the individual's core, their time, their focus, and their heart, demanding a sacrifice that is purely for the sake of the divine, with no intermediary and no worldly reward inherent in the act itself. This is the essence of ibadah, pure, unadulterated worship. Charity or sadaqah occupies a different, though equally vital, space in the spiritual ecosystem of Islam. Its injunction is often broad and encouraged as a natural consequence of a believing heart, while it is absolutely obligatory in specific forms like zakat. Its broader spirit is presented as a characteristic of the righteous, a sign of true God consciousness. The Quran magnificently describes those who are steadfast in prayer and spend out of what we have provided for them. The grammatical and contextual conjunction here is critical. It is almost always and not or. The believers are those who both establish the prayers and spend in charity. The spiritual state achieved through the discipline and communion of Salah naturally generates an outward impulse of generosity and compassion. Therefore, charity is a manifestation, a beautiful, necessary, and tangible proof of the internal state cultivated by Salah. It is the faith made visible in the world, the translation of spiritual conviction into social good. A person who is truly connected to Allah 5 times a day finds their heart softened towards His creation. The remembrance of Allah's boundless blessings inspires a desire to share those blessings. The humility gained from daily prostration dismantles arrogance and fosters empathy for those in need. In this sense, charity is the flowering of the tree whose roots are watered by the constant remembrance of Salah. To propose that charity can stand in for Salah is to confuse the fruit with the root. It is to believe that one can harvest the benefits of a spiritually disciplined and compassionate life without undertaking the discipline that produces it. It is a transactional approach to faith, attempting to pay a spiritual debt with material currency. But the debt of Salah is not material, it is a debt of time, focus, and submission. Allah in His infinite wisdom does not need our prayer. He is independent of all worlds, nor does He need our charity. The Quran is clear. It is not their meat nor their blood that reaches Allah, it is your piety that reaches Him. The benefit of both acts returns entirely to us, the servants. The benefit of Salah is the cultivation of taqwa, God consciousness itself, the very piety that makes any other act, including charity, spiritually meaningful. Without this cultivated consciousness, charity risks becoming an act of the ego, a performance for social validation, or a mere humanitarian impulse devoid of the intention that transforms it into an act of worship. Salah is the divine mechanism for purifying intention at its source. It is the daily training ground where we learn to act for Allah alone. When charity then springs from a heart thus trained, it is lifted from a simple good deed to the level of ibadah, an act of worship that seeks nothing but the pleasure of the divine. The life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the ultimate embodiment of this principle. His was a life perfectly balanced between the rights of Allah and the rights of creation. His nights were long spent in prayer, in a direct communion with his Lord that was so profound his feet would swell. Yet, his days were filled with immense generosity, compassion, and service to his community. He was the most generous of people, especially in Ramadan, when his connection with Allah through revelation and prayer was at its peak. He did not neglect one for the other. Rather, his unparalleled charity was the direct overflow and manifestation of his unshakable connection with Allah through prayer. He understood that the foundation must be solid to support a generous superstructure. To prioritize charity over Salah is to attempt to build the walls before the foundation has set. The walls may look impressive for a time, but they lack the structural integrity to endure life's tests. When trials come, doubt, hardship, temptation, a faith built on the substitute of charity without the foundation of Salah is more likely to crumble, for it lacks the direct, reinforcing, and personal connection with Allah that provides true inner strength. The one who stands in prayer is building a fortress within their soul, a fortress from which they can then venture out to do good in the world, secure in the knowledge that their center is held firm by their covenant with their Lord. The command to establish Salah is the command to build that fortress. The act of charity is one of the many noble missions launched from its safety.